Hi there, welcome to Lilly-Tree. So you want to twist some wire but you're not sure what tool to use? Then you've come to the right place. We're going to take a look at the options, what each one is most useful for and how to get the best out of them. This is part of my Jewellery Tool Talk series, where we take a look at the tools we need and will love to use for our jewellery making. To keep up to date with more tool talk and my jewellery tutorials, please consider subscribing. Now let's get twisting. So option number one is to use a drill. Now, I don't tend to use power tools for wire twisting for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that this was my first drill. Yep, it does have a bit of a kick to it. It was my granddad's, so it's lasted well, but I do have to give myself a bit of a pep talk every time I go to use it, even for DIY. I do wonder if my parents were having a bit of a laugh when they gave it to me. Anyway, the other reason I don't tend to use power tools is that I feel I have a bit less control over the twist. But if you do have a drill to hand, it's worth seeing if it will give you the result that you want. It will be ideal if it has some speed control. Incidentally, if you have a rotary tool with a chuck, you can use that in the same way. So let's give this a go with my slightly more forgiving new drill. And I'll use a bit of 1mm diameter or 18 gauge wire. We can bend this in half, and don't forget that the twisted wire will end up shorter than this as some of the length is taken by the twist, so make sure you have enough wire. I usually err on the side of caution with a piece longer than I think I need. And then the two ends can go in the chuck and make sure they're nice and tight. Now the other thing we need is a solid fixing to anchor the other end of the wire to. I'll use my clamp for this one, but you could also try the other anchor points in this video. They're all interchangeable. Make sure each side of the wire is the same length. I like to get them as straight as I can. Then it can go in the clamp and again make sure it's secure. Then we want to create as much tension on the wire as we can by pulling the drill away from the clamp. This tension should give us an even twist. If the drill has speed control, you want it to be as slow as you can. This one doesn't, but it starts slowly, so I might just keep starting and stopping. It sounds silly, but remember that you're in control. You don't have to keep your finger on the trigger. And there we go. Not bad. And whilst we're here, I thought it might be worth trying with a thinner wire. So I've got some 0.4 or 26 gauge and we'll do exactly the same. I'm going to fold the ends before I put them in the drill, just to give it a bit more to bite onto. Then we'll clamp the other end, apply tension and go. Actually, that's better than I thought. I was expecting the wire to break. And here's a close-up of those wires twisted in the drill. So that wasn't bad, but I really do prefer hand tools for the control that you can get. And I use two depending on the gauge of the wire that I'm twisting. So the first is the wire twisting tool from Beadalong. It comes flat, so you need to attach the disc, which is easy to do. It's just held by a screw at the end and two washers, which all come with it. Just make sure it's tightly held. Then if you look at the disc, you'll see it has 5 holes, so you can attach and twist up to 5 wires. Why it's 5, I don't know, but I mostly don't twist that many. And one thing I was a bit worried about was that 2 wires or 4 wires wouldn't be evenly spaced on the disc, but it doesn't seem to have an adverse impact on the twist. And then looking at the handle, you'll see we've got this cylindrical piece which freely rotates. So you can hold it by the tube and turn the handle easily. I believe you can use it for wire up to 1mm or 18 gauge, but I probably only use 2 wires of that. And I mostly use mine for 0.4 or 26 gauge wire. So let's twist some wire, and I'll use 4 strands of the 0.4 or 26 gauge this time. Again, we've got 2 wires bent in half, so we can thread each strand through a different hole, bend it back and twist it on itself. And this time, let's use the gizmo support and one of the mandrels as the anchor point. As we've basically got big loops here, we can pop them in the centre, put the mandrel through them and through the other side, and they'll be held nicely in place. As we've got 2 wires here, we need to pull them taut and check they're the same length. We can adjust them at the disc if not. These are slightly different lengths, but I think I'll leave it and we can see what we get. Then we can just hold the tube so there's tension on the wires and rotate the handle to twist. And we can stop and check the twist as often as we like if we want, and stop when it's how we want it. I tend to make the twist as tight as I can, so we can just keep going and eventually one of the wires will get brittle enough to snap. But I think I've got a twist I like there. So I have a few bumps here as a result of those wires not being quite even, but this part's absolutely fine. And using 2 wires, you don't tend to get this as it's easier to get an even length. So here's a close-up of that twist. Now if you want to twist wire that's 0.8mm or 20 gauge or thicker, then I'd recommend option number 3, the wire twisting pliers. These have recognisably plier jaws and the handles to close them, but then in the middle there's a catch to lock the handles and therefore the jaws closed. You just need to pull it towards the jaws, close the handles and then slide it back to lock. Then at the end we have a knob attached to a twisted rod on a spring. It looks a bit odd, but it'll all become clear when we use them. Now these pliers do have an interesting quirk. While they lock closed quite easily with no wire in them, once you try to put wire in the jaws, it's really difficult to close the handles enough to engage the lock. So if you've got some and have been struggling, don't panic, it's not you, it's them. And happily there is a way around this, courtesy of that little space in the jaws. So let's twist 2 strands of 1mm or 18 gauge wire again. And as before, we have 1 length of wire to halve, but this time we're going to make a loop and twist the ends together. Make sure they're tightly together and then put that loop in the gap in the jaws. I'll leave the ends just at the side of the jaws so they aren't interfering with the closing but are also away from the twist. Then you can close and lock the pliers easily. Now we just need the anchor point, and this time I'll use that old faithful, the door handle. We'll hook the wire around and pull it taut. That should also give us even halves of the wire. Then we need to let go of the handles while pulling the knob out, and the wire will start to twist. Then grab those handles again, let go of the knob and let it snap back to its original position. Then we just need to repeat and keep going until we've got the twist we want. Now this method will tighten the wire to the door handle, so we have to cut it off when we're done. And here's a close-up of that twisted wire. So there we have twisted wire 3 ways. If you're interested in either the wire twisting tool or the wire twisting pliers, I'll leave links in the description below for both the US and the UK so you can take a look. Some of these are affiliate links, so I do get a small percentage if you choose to buy through that link. And if you want to take a sneak peek at my recommendations for more tools, check out the tools page on my website. I'll also link that in the description below, or have a look at this playlist for more Tool Talk videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.